Welcome back to Gotcha Interact. Today we're going to be talking about a character named Feixiao who is a Wind Hunt character. But before we get into the video, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and also go ahead and check out our Discord while you're at it. And now, onto the video. So looking at the character first and foremost, Feixiao, like I already said, she's going to be a Wind Hunt character. So Rift, looking at her skills, what can you tell us about her?
Well, first let's look at her basic attack. This is called Bolt Sunder, and it basically just deals wind damage equal to 100% of Feixiao's attack to a single target enemy. And by the way, we're going to be talking about all these skills, well, her basic attack being at level 6, and then the rest of the skills we're going to assume that they're level 10 for the multipliers. Now looking at her skill, this is called War Axe, and this states that she will deal wind damage equal to 240% of Feixiao's attack to a single target enemy, then it will advance forward Feixiao's next action by 10%.
Looking at her ultimate, it is called Terra Split. It deals wind damage equal to 840% all the way up to 1680% of Feixiao's attack to a single target enemy, reducing its toughness regardless of the weakness type. If the target is not weakness broken, Feixiao's weakness break efficiency is then increased by 100%. During this attack, Feixiao will launch Bolt Sunder Blitz or War Axe skyward multiple times until Flying Aureus is depleted. After that, she launches the final hit for every point of Flying Aureus that is consumed during this time. She will then deal wind damage equal to 10% of Feixiao's attack to the target enemy. If this target is weakness broken, the damage multiplier is increased by 15%. From the 6th hit onward, if the target's HP is 0, it reserves the remaining Flying Aureus and launches the final hit immediately. There are also two other states technically. It talks about that Bolt Sunder Blitz and that War Axe skyward. Technically, there are two types of hits that she's going to be doing inside her ultimate. The Bolt Sunder Blitz and this War Axe skyward do have the same multipliers, everything so far in version 1, but I will still read just one because it's basically just copy pasted for both of them. They just look differently. Both Bolt Sunder Blitz and War Axe skyward will deal wind damage equal to 75% of Feixiao's attack to a single enemy. If the target enemy is weakness broken, the damage multiplier is increased by 40%.
Now let's look at Feixiao's talent. This is called Thunder Hunt, and it states that the ultimate can be activated when Flying Aureus reaches 6 points, up to 12 points. Feixiao will also gain 1 point of Flying Aureus for every 2 attacks used by allies. Attacks from Feixiao's ultimate are not counted here. After other teammates use an attack, Feixiao will launch a follow-up attack against the primary target, dealing wind damage equal to 200% of Feixiao's attack. If no primary targets are available to attack, Feixiao attacks a single random enemy instead. This effect can only trigger 1 time per turn, and the trigger count is reset at the start of Feixiao's turn.
Looking at her technique, it states that after using the technique, this character enters the onrush state, lasting for 20 seconds. While in the onrush state, this character pulls in enemies within a certain range and increases the speed of the character by 35%, and she will also receive 1 point of Flying Aureus when she enters battle. Active attacks in the onrush state will strike all pulled enemies when entering into combat. After entering battle, deal wind damage equal to 200% of Feixiao's attack to all the enemies at the start of each wave. This damage is guaranteed to crit. When more than one enemy is pulled in, increase the multiplier of this damage by 100% for each additional enemy pulled in, up to an increase of 1000%.
Now let's quickly look at Feixiao's bonus abilities within her trace tree. Her first one is called Bolt Catch, and it just states that the follow-up attack crit damage will increase by 60%. Looking at the second one, this is called Form Shift, and this just states that when dealing damage to enemy targets through launching this unit's ultimate, it will be considered as launching a follow-up attack. And then finally, her third one is called Heaven Path. At the start of the battle, you will receive 4 points of Flying Aureus, and if there are no teammates active in battle on the field at the start of a turn, you will also receive 1 more point of Flying Aureus.
Well, looking overall at this character, Rift, I don't know about you, but this has been a character I've been waiting for a very long time, actually. Just in general, I've been waiting for a character that's been a hunt character that I'm actually extremely excited for. And it's very interesting because I'm not usually a follow-up attack person, but we're actually starting to see as well, and we'll kind of get into this when we do some other pre-releases of the characters alongside of Feixiao, like Lingsha and Mose. These characters are having a lot of follow-up attack in them, and we kind of saw that with the recency of a lot of characters recently. Aventurine, Jade, Topaz, a lot of characters have this follow-up attack idea that have come out recently. I mean, you can even technically call the counters also follow-up attacks when we look at a character like Yun Li, who also is releasing soon. So looking at everything here, these characters are all kind of looking at this follow-up attack instance, and it's weird because we were all talking about how, you know, it's getting such a nerf and there's not a lot of characters that are going for follow-up attacks, and now we're starting to see some characters use them almost just willy-nilly, just almost in every single kit. So I'm extremely excited to see what this character can do. You've got some action forwards, you got some great weakness break alongside of some follow-up attacks, really combining that weakness break meta, quote unquote, that we're kind of in right now, alongside and pairing that with some follow-up attacks and a talent. Never mind, I mean, if you guys even listen to the technique that she has, that's absolutely insane. Yeah, the speed and the zoomies basically that she gets is kind of cool, but a guaranteed crit, as well as every single wave dealing a bunch of damage, with the more enemies you pull in, the higher damage you do, with an increase of basically 10 times damage, is just absolutely insane. So I think all the weakness break, I think in general, everything's going to be extremely great for this character, but I do think that, you know, you have to keep in mind she's probably going to do more damage when enemies are weakness broken, once they're actually broken, kind of like characters like Super Breaking type idea with some other characters that go into weakness break. So keep that in mind of what we're doing. I'm not too sure at what this character is going to do yet, but I'm extremely excited to see what we're going to really get out of her, because you can still kind of run a crit rate idea, so it's kind of like a boot hill. So I don't know, Rift, what are your thoughts initially when looking at this character?
Yeah, well, you bring a lot of good points, and one of the things that stands out to me is we kind of saw this weakness break meta, of course, with Penacony introducing a lot of characters that revolve around that, Firefly being one of the most popular ones, you know, Boot Hill, and that's kind of the meta that we definitely sense. And now that we're kind of starting to creep out of that, I feel like they're really pushing follow-up. But the thing here with Feixiao is, and I love this, they're kind of merging the two, where you're, you know, weakness breaking a lot. Feixiao is ignoring the weakness type with her ultimate, but then it's also considered a follow-up. Like, I love this so much. And if you've been watching our channel for a while, you know that when it comes to Star Rail, I love follow-up attack characters. I just absolutely love it. Yun Li, Topaz, you know, I pulled Topaz day one. I love all of it. So a character like this is just so interesting because, like I said, we're just merging these two kind of concepts into one unit, and I think it's going to be really good. We've already looked at the multipliers at the beginning of the video. I think this character is going to be absolutely broken, and the cool part, even for new players, I think it's going to be very easy to build a team around Feixiao because we already have Harmony Trailblazer, who's a free unit, and it's just a good character, so you should be building Harmony Trailblazer regardless, and then just get yourself a sustain and maybe another support. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I feel like any kind of Firefly team you might already have, you could honestly just substitute Feixiao in for Firefly, and I feel like that team would work pretty well. Same thing can be said for Boot Hill. But because Feixiao's also dealing follow-up attack damage with her ultimate, and we see that in those talents, the bonus abilities that we went over, you're getting 60% more crit damage to follow-up attacks. Your ultimate is considered a follow-up attack, and then the talent also has a follow-up attack. It is looking amazing. I cannot wait to see the different teams you can do. So you can do that break effect team that kind of went over, but you can also just do a follow-up team, and I can see it doing really good. Another thing I really like about this character, and looking right at the beginning of the talent, I love how you can kind of choose when you use the ultimate. You can use it when you have 6 Flying Aureus, or you can wait until you get up to 12. And to me, that kind of feels like another Argenti, where you get 2 bursts, or 2 ultimates essentially, and you can kind of determine when you want to use them. We also did see that in Yun Li too, where her ultimate will actually keep charging past the full amount, so that you can already be working towards the second use of it. It doesn't mean it charges up twice like Argenti, but I did like that about Yun Li. And again, with Feixiao, I do like how you can kind of choose when you want to use it. It's not like it's either full or it's not.
Well, like you were talking about earlier, just basically choosing when to make the ultimate, she seems like a very flexible character. And like you were talking about with the different types of teams, that's actually what I was saying earlier to Rift, is like, you know, I already have the Firefly team. I've got Ruan Mei, I've got Harmony Trailblazer to E6, and I've got Gallagher to E6. I've already kind of got one of the best teams you can get really for a Firefly type team. And I was thinking, you know, well, I wanted to get Boot Hill. And I was like, well, you know, in terms of an account, technically, it's not good for me, because, you know, you want to have as many separate teams as possible, especially when you get into like different types of endgame that needs 2 teams that have 4 separate characters. But honestly, like, It's funny because I really still wanted someone like Boothill, but Boothill's a cool character and all, but I don't think necessarily he was something that I really wanted. But it's really nice to see, as I was telling Rift about this earlier, that Feixiao, though, is basically that idea for me. So I could basically swap my Firefly out for Feixiao in this instance. So like he's talking about, like, I do really like the idea that you can go weakness break, but like you also said, I mean, I'm wondering who, Feixiao could even be paired with another DPS character to actually do a little bit more with her, because you got to think the idea is what is going on, I guess, between the two, right? Because, can you combine this with another character? We see that in other hunt characters, they can kind of be moved with other characters together. So I'm wondering, with this type of specific team, who she's going to be paired with. I know a lot of people are probably going to be thinking about, like that weakness break idea, or they're going for the follow-up attack idea. Could be jumping in some Jade teams, trying to make her work a little bit more, maybe using some other characters like Topaz. I know Rift would probably like to do that as well, probably talk about that. Also jumping into the weakness break, slapping Ruan Mei and E6 Trailblazer and running home with it. I think there's just so much that you can do with this character, and you can probably do a mix of the two. So I think the character is so flexible with the kit itself, like Rift you talked about, the ultimate, using it early, using it late, whenever you want to do it, pulling enemies together in such a cool, interesting technique. The talent has the follow-up idea, but it's also weakness break. Every part of the character's kit is just so versatile. It basically is just extremely exciting to see what we're going to see out of the character once she's actually released.
Yeah, totally. And I think one of the baseline teams, if we're thinking about just Feixiao, like how can I make Feixiao do the most damage possible? I think as far as a sustain unit, we all know that Aventurine and Fujuan are your top tier, right? I think Aventurine's going to have a little bit of an edge just because he has that follow-up mechanic. So, if you're trying to buff Feixiao's follow-up damage, well, naturally, so like if you're using a character like Robin, you're naturally also increasing Aventurine's follow-up mechanic damage. And from your experience, Vixen, it's actually pretty good, and from what I've seen as well. So I think Aventurine's going to be probably best in slot for sustain for Feixiao teams. And then with that, like I previously mentioned, I think Robin's going to be a great character to use. You can also use Sparkle. I don't think Sparkle would be bad because you're getting those skill points back. Who knows, you may need that for the energy's sake, right? And also all that crit damage increase, because we know that Feixiao can work with that. It's going to be awesome. But then I think you can also get away with running Ruan Mei because, once again, kind of using that break effect type of team. So I think there's a lot of flexibility that Feixiao brings to the table. And honestly, because of that, I think it makes Feixiao a very free-to-play friendly character. Now, we will have to see when the character actually drops just how good they fall in their placement with and comparisons to other DPSs. But if you're asking me, I think Feixiao is going to be awesome. I have pretty high expectations. And just keep in mind, this is version 1 of the beta, so there will be changes. For the most part, there should be just minor changes. Maybe they'll change some damage and whatnot, but regardless, this character looks awesome just because of the mix between the follow-up and the break effect. I can't wait to see what happens.
Well, that's everything we've got talking about Feixiao. If you guys are extremely excited for her, please go ahead and let us know down in the comments. Go ahead and also let us know what types of teams that she could kind of be paired with. Let us know where you think she's going to be best, maybe in terms of endgame as well as just overworld. In general, what could she really do? So let us know down in the comments what you guys think about the character. Please go ahead and like and subscribe, as well as check out our Discord as well. Thank you guys for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.